Well, the stack is decked against the New York Giants right now because they are yet again looking for a new head coach. Again, 2 years with Ben McAdoo in his Giants suit, 2 years with Pat Shurmur, 2 years with Joe Judge, and now back to the drawing board, and they're looking for a general manager. And John Mara had a press conference yesterday that was not streamed live by anyone. The reporters were limited to one question each. Nothing like full-blown transparency and embracing the public nature of the business that you run. But here's a little John Mara from yesterday on the very difficult decision to part ways after only 2 seasons with former head coach Joe Judge.
I can't say there was one specific act that was the last straw. It was just a culmination of things. We just got to a point where I thought we had dug ourselves a hole so deep that I didn't see a clear path to getting out of it unless we completely blew it up and started all over again with a new general manager and a new head coach. I still think that there is a really good head coach inside of Joe Judge. I just felt like given where we are right now, on the verge of bringing in a new general manager, we have to give that person the flexibility to bring in the head coach that he wants. And I think that was a large part of the decision here in making a change. I just felt like we really needed to just start from the ground up again.
It really felt while I was listening to that at any given moment he could have said the stack was decked against us. I felt like he was dabbling in sufficient cliche that he could have stumbled over that. And anyone else out there that's doing a press conference as they try to regroup following their latest disappointing season and fire people, feel free to use it. Let's get it going. The stack was decked against us. I think we really need to start weaving that into the subconscious minds of these folks who have to do these press conferences. Chris, what was your opinion of Mara's explanation there, and however much else of his press conference yesterday you saw?
Well, it damage control. That's what it was more than anything. And I think he's just letting the fan base know that he realized that, hey, the things, I hear you, and things got past the point of no return. He can say what he wants, where there's there was no one thing or whatever that really put it over the edge. But how could the last 2 or 3 weeks not affect what the Mara family was thinking as far as Joe Judge was concerned? Yeah, things weren't good on the field like we talked about, but again, what it became is the perception became the reality. And then of course, the 11-minute, answer in the press conference and the quarterback sneak where the Giants became like a social media meme. And that's when it's like, wow, we're really like in a spot that's scary for our franchise, our football team, our fan base, the reaction of some of the fans in the crowd. I just think he saw that the writing was on the wall there, that not only had the fan base been lost, but I'm sure he questioned whether the team was buying in anymore either, because there just wasn't any light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's what that was yesterday, a little bit of, damage control, letting the fan base know that, things aren't good, and that they're going to try to do everything they can to get going in the right direction here and let the GM have a clean slate to get it all going in the right direction at the same time, to something you talk about a lot.
He said that he doesn't want to rush into anything, that in the past they've made that mistake. The problem is the clock is ticking because other teams are looking for general managers. Other teams are going to be making decisions. It is a game of musical chairs if you want to get the absolute best candidate, if you catch wind of the fact that someone else wants him. That's how they lost out on Matt Rule, although in part it was because David Tepper was willing to pay Matt Rule a ton of money and the Giants weren't willing to match it. Now, after 2 years of Matt Rule, the Giants may be thinking, boy, hey, we may have dodged a bullet there, although Giants fans may prefer what they've seen from Matt Rule over 2 years to what they got from Joe Judge. But you need to be thorough, you need to be focused, but you can't dilly-dally. You have to be working tirelessly. This has to be your top priority if you're ownership of any of these teams that is currently looking for a general manager and or a head coach. You have to set everything else in your life aside. This gets back to the Stephen Ross comments from earlier in the week, the idea that you need to be all in as an owner of one of these teams. It can't be just some hobby, some toy, some game, something that you just kind of swoop in from time to time and get involved and then go back to whatever else it is you're doing. You need to be all in. And the Maras are all in. And the problem is, and this came up yesterday too, Chris, are they too all in? John Mara insisted that he and his family members don't have undue influence over personnel. I cannot reconcile that with the Giants.com front office page that shows, beyond the fact that John Mara is the president and chief executive, because there are plenty of presidents and chief executives that don't have undue influence over personnel, but when you scroll down and you see that Chris Mara, his brother, is the senior vice president, player personnel, and when you go down even farther and see that their nephew, Tim McDonnell, is the co-director of player personnel, along with Mark Kontz, who's been a true old-school football guy for years now, when you've got Mara family member with equal title to grind it out scout, and then supervising all of it is Chris Mara, director of player personnel.
Yeah.
Well, not director, but senior vice president of player personnel, even more. How can you claim with a straight face that your family doesn't have undue influence over personnel?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there, Mike. I mean, yeah, the Giants, do they dabble in, a few too many cooks in the kitchen to a degree? Yeah, I can't, disagree with that sentiment. And to your point, again, you've talked about this a lot. Hey, somebody in the owner's family's talking about something in a meeting. People aren't stupid. They're like, wait, that's the owner's, that's the nephew talking, whoever. That's, part of the family here. I got to listen. I think they're trying to tell me something about what they like or who they like here. Even though I kind of like somebody else better, it's the Maras telling me they like somebody here. So you don't know how much that is influencing decisions. And that's where, again, I hope that's not happening. I don't know knowledge of that, but that's where it's a delicate situation, certainly. And that's where I hope they can get back to, something I talked about, yesterday a little bit. Get back to that George Young, Bill Parcells, era where, hey, you're aware of everything that's going on. They're keeping you, up to date with all the situations on your football team, but you're not necessarily always sitting in the meetings adding your 2 cents to say, well, wait, I like this guy or I like that guy. That's where they got to be careful, certainly. And hopefully this is a step in that direction. Hopefully that is. I do think it's encouraging, that they're not, making the move of, hey, new GM with the old head coach, like you've talked about so much, where it's a kind of a recipe for disaster. Because I do think that could set you back for a year or two, too. Because now, new GM comes in, and, of course, he's got a guy like Joe Judge, and Joe Judge has a vision of the football team, so he gets a few guys that fit the vision of Joe Judge's football team, even though it might not be the vision of the guy he's got on his radar as his future head coach who wants to do things differently. And then that sets you back a few years. So that's where I think, again, the press conference was good yesterday, and he relayed that message to the fan base, that he didn't want to make that mistake there either. And I think that's a real thing, again, for the GM to come in, get a coach that, yes, okay, we're on the same page, and now we can share a common vision and build the football team. And hopefully, yes, that the Maras don't get too involved in those decisions or affect anything or influence those guys to do something maybe they don't want to do.
You made a point that I think is very, very appropriate, and we don't know what goes on behind the scenes at any of these teams, but we all have our own experiences as to how organizations work, whatever it is, whether you're in school, whether you work somewhere, whatever, and how decisions get made and the various factors that human beings take into account before they make decisions. And I look at it this way. If I'm ultimately going to be judged on my performance by the owner of the company, and I have a lot of different ways I can go in the decisions that I make when fulfilling my obligation to do the best I can to advance the interests of the organization. And I also know that there's a lot of right answers, there's a lot of wrong answers. You never really know what's going to happen. But when you're in the process of making these discretionary decisions, if the owner's brother is in the room with you as you're considering your options, if the owner's nephew is in the room with you as you're grinding away, considering these options, anyone with any common sense is going to find a way to gauge what Uncle John thinks. Hey, Tim, what's your Uncle John think of this guy? Have you talked to Uncle John about this guy? I know that Uncle John really wants us to have a better offensive line, but you know what? When you have a chance, you may want to mention this defensive end that we see out of Georgia to Uncle John. It adds a layer of interpersonal complexity that gets in the way of doing the job properly.
Right.
And that's a more tactful way to make the point that I made yesterday on PFTPM, where I kind of lost my eggs a little bit talking about the Maras and that they should just get out of it altogether. And if they can't keep their fingerprints off of it, they should just sell the team. And again, there's a sweet spot. Be there every day.
Yeah.
Make everyone accountable. But don't grab a big-ass spoon and go jam it into the stew and splash it around everywhere if you don't know what the hell you're doing. And to have, they necessarily are exerting undue influence over personnel by having two members of the family with major titles in the personnel department. By nature, it is undue influence over personnel. The mere presence of Chris Mara and Tim McDonald exerts undue influence just by the arrangement. Just by the arrangement. Oh, well, so what if they're not in there pulling rank or saying, I'm going to go tell Uncle John? Just the mere fact that they're there complicates the jobs that the people are paid to do. And I can't believe that they don't see that.
I don't disagree with you. I don't. Again, I don't think they're the type of family that's overbearing or wants to be that way, in my experience. But I think your point's real. It doesn't matter. You're right. If I'm the GM of the Giants or in pro personnel and you got a family member in there and they say something, you feel the pressure of, wait, is that what they want? Wait, why are they asking me this question? And again, the Maras, they're never going to let this go. They're not. This is the family business. They're the reason the New York Giants are the New York Giants is the Mara family. They're awesome in a lot of ways. But, yes, this is an area where I think they got to be a little careful. There's no doubt about it. It's fine to have some of these people, in meetings asking some questions that are appropriate to the football team. But they just got to make sure there's not, like you're saying, crossing the line or influencing the day-to-day work of a GM or a pro personnel guy because, wait, he said something to me, and does that mean they want that or what? Or do they not like that I have this guy above this guy in my evaluations? That's where they got to be a little bit careful. That's where you got to trust your people that are working for you. You got to ask the questions of, wait, why do you like this guy better? Hey, wait, I saw this. Just explain this to me. I didn't understand that. That's fine. That's like, to me, the Jones family. They dabble in that type of stuff. That's part of the job of being an owner and having your family involved.
Hang on. Time out.
Yeah.
The Jones family would never come out and try to say with a straight face, we don't exercise undue influence over personnel.
No, they've got a different way. You're right.
They own it.
Yes.
They own it.
Yes.
They admit to what they're doing. And, they're in the playoffs right now, and the Giants aren't. So maybe
I know.
Just own
I
it.
understand.
Just
but, I could also go, the Giants got 2 Super Bowls in the last, 20-something years, and the Cowboys don't got it, ever since the Jones took over. So you can go both ways in that conversation.
I'm having a harder and harder time understanding how in the hell the Giants won 2 Super Bowls, 42 and 46.
Well, because it goes back to what we're
decade.
talking about. I think we hit this yesterday. They won the first 2 Super Bowls when Wellington, the great Wellington Mara was alive, and they let Parcells and George Young run the squad. When they got to the second group of Super Bowls, Ernie Accorsi and Tom Coughlin were running the squad. And then, of course, I know Ernie Accorsi left. And then
Jerry Reese was the GM for the two.
The other two, right? So then Jerry
07
Reese,
and
but they
11.
let them do their thing too. That's where I was getting to. I know I was blanking out on Jerry Reese's name there, but I think there was a line not being crossed at that time. At least it seems that way to me. Again, I don't know. I know everybody thinks I know these things because my dad played for the Giants. I don't know. I'm a fan too here. I'm just evaluating what I see, what I hear a little bit, but I certainly didn't have that feel during that time of my life, and of course I was in the NFL, that there was too many cooks in the kitchen at that point. I don't know. Do you remember having that feel back then in the late 2000s?
No.
Right?
No.
So somewhere along the lines here it changed, And I don't know if it's because, hey, oh, wait, we messed up. So now, hey, get more involved because we messed up. So I need you to help me. And then it's like more involved and more involved. I don't know where it changed that way. But to me, that's the difference, I think, a little bit between back then and right now.
Here's the 20-second version of the point I tried to make yesterday, and you can go watch PFTPM to see the much more animated and angry version of it. But I use the example of buying a Ferrari. If you want to buy a Ferrari and run it into the ground, that's your business. If you got the money to do it and you want to burn off the tires and take it on terrain you shouldn't take it on, scrape the bottom, put crappy gas in it, whatever you want to do, that's your prerogative. It's your car. The difference here is this is a Ferrari that hundreds of thousands of people care about. They're invested in it. And there's a greater obligation to all those people out there who want that Ferrari to be properly taken care of so it can go win races on the weekends. That's the difference. That's the disconnect between we own it and we'll do what we want, and understanding the broader obligation to your paying customers that you have. And see, ultimately, that's not how they make their money. They don't make their money based on wins and losses. They make their money on TV. You know, people are going to watch on TV no matter what. People are going to come to the games no matter what. You got to be really, really bad to get to the point where no one's coming to your game. So that's the disconnect. And I think they need to better appreciate the fact that there are hundreds of thousands of people that are invested in the proper operation of this Ferrari. And just because your nephew always wanted to be a race car driver doesn't mean that he should be driving the race car.
Yeah,
that's basically my point.
I get that. You know, I do. I totally get that. The one thing I'll say in defending this family that I have so much respect for, and I'm uncomfortable talking about it. I really am. I'm not even gonna lie.
I'm not.
Well, I am. You know, this is a family that's of course been great to my family. And I see these people around from time to time. I don't want them to hate me, right? I mean, I like the Mara family. The one thing I can always say about the Mara family that I will never back down from, their heart's in the right place here. They want this thing to work. And they're not doing it for money or anything like that. You know, they love the New York Football Giants. They love their fans. They want to make it work. They're obviously making some mistakes. And maybe, yes, like what we're talking about, evaluating themselves and how they're a part of the situation, maybe that's part of it. But it's not the things are not south because of, you know, heart being in the wrong place here. That's the only thing.
I'm not saying they're malicious. I'm not saying they're running a scam.
No,
right.
I know. I just want to make sure everybody, like, they care about this. It's not about just dollars or anything like that. We know the dollars matter. I get it. But this is the family business. This is the crown jewel of the whole Mara family. But yes, they probably have crossed the line a little bit in how involved they are throughout the organization.
There are plenty of things that I would very much love to do, and my heart would be in the right place while doing them. That makes me no less unfit to do them just because my heart's in the right place. So let's move forward. Joe Judge's heart was in the right place the day after he got fired.
Oh, this is amazing. I love it.
A lot of beer.
He's going out swinging, baby. Yeah.
Hey, $15 million for 3 years to not coach the Giants. I think you need more pizza, and I think you need more beer.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.